we are going over this problem, best time to buy and sell stock for 6, that is with transaction fee. So let me explain the problem statement first. So we are given an array denoting the cost of a stock on each day and an integer k representing a transaction fee. Our task is to find the maximum total profit if we are able to buy and sell the stocks any number of times we want, given that each transaction costs a fee k. So we can only sell a stock which we have bought earlier, and we cannot hold multiple stocks on any day, right? So let us see the example. So input array is given 617284 is equal to 2. Output is 8. Explanation: buy the stock on day 2, that is here, and sell it on day 3. So 7 minus 1, we have 7 minus 1, and we have a transaction fee, so that also is reduced. So minus 2 is equal to 4. Now this is another variation, and this is quite a good problem. So we have to subtract 2 from every transaction. Buy the stock on day 4, that is here, at 2, at cost price 2, and sell it on day 5 at selling price 8. So we get the profit as 8 minus 2, and we also have a transaction fee, that is 2, so we subtract that. So we get the profit as 4, and maximum profit is 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. Again, another example. So let us say buy the stock on day 2, that is at the cost price of 1, and sell it on day 3 at selling price 5. So we get the profit as 4, and we basically subtract 1, since that is the transaction or the platform fee, you can say. So minus 1. 5 minus 1 is equal to 3. Then we buy the stock on day 4, that is at cost price 3, and sell it on day 5 at selling price 6. So 6 minus 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. Maximum profit is 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So naive approach, let's go through that. So using recursion, it takes off 2 to the power n time and over 1 space. So the idea is to recursively generate all possible buy and sell combinations and compute the maximum among these. So to do so, we create a counter buy, which is 0 if no stock has been purchased, else it is 1. So if we have the ability to buy, we will set it to 1. 0 if no stock has been purchased. Start from 0th index, and for each index I, there are two possibilities. Buy equal to 0, that means if no stock has been purchased, we can either skip the stock array of I or can purchase it, that is we can buy it by subtracting array of I from the profit, right? And buy is equal to 1, that means if a stock has already been purchased, if we have bought it, we cannot buy more and we need to sell it. That means we can either sell it in current rate by adding array of I to the profit and subtracting k of transaction fee, or skip to the next stock, right? And the maximum of this is result. So let us go through this. We basically have the maximum profit function. N is array.size. Edge case is if there are no stocks to trade. That is if the size of the array is 0. That means we have no stocks. If n is equal to 0, return 0. Otherwise, we return maximum profit recursion function, which takes array, the index that we are at, the buying capability. If buy is 0, we are able to buy. If buy is 1, we are able to sell. And k, which is the number of transactions. Sorry, this is not the number of transactions. This is the max. This is the transaction fee for each stock that we sell. N is equal to array.size. Base case is if index is equal to n, we return 0. And we set the profit. If buy is 0, that means if we can purchase a new stock. If buy is 0, we can buy a new stock. That means a new stock can be bought here. So if buy is 0, we get profit is equal to maximum of, we call the recursive function maximum profit recursion. So we have two possibilities. Either we do nothing and we just move to the next day, that is array comma index plus 1, that is just go to the next day. We are skipping the buying of that particular stock and moving to the next day. And if we are moving to the next day without buying, we just keep the buy state as 0 only, because now we have not yet bought any stock on this day. So we have the possibility of buying the stock on the next day as well. So that is why we keep the buying state as 0. And maximum profit, we have choice between this, either skipping or buying that stock. So if we buy the stock, we are basically moving to the next element, that is the next day, and changing the state to 1, that is buy is equal to 1. Now since we have bought the stock, now our state for the next day would be changed to buy equal to 1. That means now we have the ability to sell the stock on the next day, right? So the option of buying is now closed, since we have already bought this stock. So now we have to sell it. So that is why state is changed to 1. And minus array of index is basically we subtract the cost. That is basically since we have bought a stock, we would incur a loss, not a loss, but we would incur a cost, since that is the cost price of the stock. So since we have bought the stock, we subtract the array of index from this, right? Else we have the option to sell the stock. If buy is equal to 1, we check. So first option is to either skip this day, that is move to the next day, index plus 1, and keep the buying state as 1, that is we can sell it. And the other option is to sell the stock. So if we are selling the stock, that means we are moving to the next index, that is next day. We are changing the buying state to buy is equal to 0. That means we can buy the next stock, since we have already sold the previous one. So if we have sold the previous stock, so we can buy it, and we add the profit that we get. That is the selling price is actually array of index, since this is the selling price, and we also need to account for the transaction fee. So that is the transaction fee minus k. So array of index minus k is added to this. So that means now since we have sold the stock, we are going to get the selling price of that stock minus the transaction fee. So we remove the transaction fee, right? So this is the answer, and we return the profit, right? Now we're going to the better approach, that is using memoization, that takes O of n time and O of n space. Now the above approach can be optimized using memoization. So the idea is to create a 2D array memo of order n square, where element memo of I comma 0 stores the maximum profit from day I to n minus 1 when no previous stock is pending, and memo of I comma 1 stores the maximum profit from day I to n minus 1 when there is previous stock remaining. For each recursive call, check if the subarray is already computed. If so, return the stored value, else proceed as in above approach. So what is here, what we are saying is that where element memo of I comma 0 is storing the maximum profit from day I to n minus 1 when no previous stock is pending. Since buy is equal to 0, no previous stock is pending, and memo of I1 basically stores maximum profit from day I to n minus 1 when there is previous stock remaining. That means 1 is equal to buy is equal to 1 means we have the ability to sell the stock, right? So previous stock is still remaining to be sold and has not yet been sold. So that is why we have basically bifurcated the problem into two states, that is memo of I0 where we can buy another stock because no previous stock is remaining, and memo of I comma 1 is since we have not yet sold the previous stock, we have to sell it, and that means that the previous stock is remaining, right? So that is the main explanation for this. Now let us go through the function. What we're going to do, everything remains the same. We're just going to declare a 2D DP or a memo vector, right? So we have declared that, and we pass it here as well in the function. We check if index is equal to n, we return 0, and if the result has already been computed. In order to avoid a recomputation of the state, we check if memo of index comma by is not equal to minus 1. That is, it has already been computed because we had initialized this vector with minus 1. So if it is minus 1, not equal to minus 1, we return this answer. And everything remains the same here. We're just passing the memo 2D vector. We just, before returning profit, we just store it in the table. That is the 2D table that we have, 2D matrix we have, memo index comma by, we store it and return it. So that is memoization. Now another approach is using tabulation, which takes O of n time and O of n space. So this one also took O of n time and O of n space, but now we are going through the tabulation of the bottom up approach. So to do so, we create a 2D array DP of order n square, where each element DP of I stores the result of subarray from index I to n minus 1. Start iterating from the last index, and for each index I, calculate the profit for value 1 and 0 of y. DP of 0, 0 stores the final result. So you can see here. So this is the we are maintaining a DP 2D vector, such that DP of I, 0 represents a maximum profit from day I onward if we can buy, right? And DP of I, 1 represents the maximum profit from day I onward if we can sell. So initialize it with 0. Then we just calculate, start calculating using the recurrence relations, right? And we return the answer. So this is our function, array n is equal to array dot size. This is our 2D vector, initializing all the elements with 0. Edge case is no stocks to trade. If n is equal to 0, return 0. So that is the edge case. Now for int index is equal to n minus 1, index greater than equal to 0, index minus minus, we're starting from the bottom. For int buy is equal to 0, buy less than equal to 1, buy plus plus, that is we have two options, buy is equal to 0 and buy is equal to 1 for each of the days inside the vector. Profit, if we are able to buy the stock, that means buy state is equal to 0. Then we get profit is equal to max of either we don't buy anything and move to the next day, index plus 1, and keep the buying state as 0, or we basically buy the stock on this day, move to the next element for the next day, index plus 1. And since we have bought the stock, we are removing the cost price from that vector, right? And if we are able to sell the stock, and we are also changing the buying state to 1, because now we will be able to sell the stock in the next iterations, right? So we can sell the stock. If we can sell the stock, that is if buy is equal to 1, we have max of DP of index plus 1, that is going to the next day, and keeping the state as 1 only, since we have just skipped this element or skipped this day, or we subtract the transaction fee from the selling price, that is we have sold the stock, so we'll subtract the transaction fee from the selling price and add the DP of the next day, DP of index plus 1, and change the state to buy is equal to 0. That means now we will be able to buy a new stock, and in the DP of index comma buy, we store profit, and finally return the maximum profit for buying, and that is the answer.